Hey, today I'm talking about 3 documentaries. Weird, I know I never do that. The names of those 3 movies are Beanie Mania, Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed, and A Faster Horse. First up is Beanie Mania. This is a brand spanking new documentary. The basic premise is it talks about the history of Beanie Babies and like the giant boom in the late 90s and like its really surprising origins of like how this giant craze came about, which I definitely was totally not a giant a part of. Like Quackers. I still actually have all of my Beanie Babies. Quackers is the only one I have at my apartment though. The rest are at my parents' house. And then I actually stumbled across this book while I was at my parents' house like the day after I watched the movie. And I was like, this is amazing. Here, I'll go close so you can see. Look at that. Look at that. And I remember like going through this thing and being like, ooh, I want that one and that one and that one, but I need like $10,000. I don't have that much money. I'm only 7. Actually, this is 9. I was 9 when this book came out. But yeah, the movie, it was really, really fascinating and just well made in general. It's very eye-opening. My one complaint though is that I wish they would have gotten more employees from Thai at the time. They did get some and I loved everyone that they got, especially the woman who created a lot of the poetry that is in the tags. She was great. She was a delight. I just wish they would have gotten more. I think they tried to and just they really couldn't get people to respond to be in this. I strongly think it's not the filmmaker's fault for not getting more employees. So it's kind of not really a complaint. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. As soon as the movie was done, I was like, okay, so what do I think about this? And I was like, oh, my face kind of hurts. Oh, I've been smiling this entire time. Okay, I guess I really enjoyed this. I did really enjoy it. I definitely recommend it, especially if you were alive in the 90s and participated in the Beanie Baby craze. It's a really good solid time. Feel free to share who your favorite Beanie Baby was or who your first one was. Mine was Bongo, this little guy. He's just great. I love him so much. Next up is Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed. Ooh. This is a Netflix documentary that came out earlier this year. I think it was around August. I know it was super popular back then, but again, I don't really watch documentaries, so I just kind of ignored it, but I'm glad I gave it a watch. It was pretty good. It was definitely really interesting. It does a good job of like covering the whole story of like how Bob got into painting, how he got into TV stuff and then his rise through TV. But then it kind of also talks about his partner who, as he was dying, kind of screwed him over and screwed over his family. And it's really sad and stuff. And to this day are still screwing over his family, which really sucks. So don't buy any officially licensed Bob Ross merchandise because those people suck. My biggest issue with the movie was just the timeline wasn't super duper clear. Like, they kind of seemed to jump around a lot in the timeline, so it's hard for me to follow. I got lost a lot, which was really frustrating. I still understood it overall in the end, but like, it took me a second. I would say that it needed like a bit more ironing out to kind of fully like super nail it. They did a good job though. I ended up putting this in the quite like, so I would recommend it if you're interested in Bob Ross, who was a delightful person. And yeah, it was good and fascinating. It was solid. I enjoyed it. And lastly is A Faster Horse. This is a 2015 movie about the creation of the 2015 Mustang. This was personally recommended to me by my cousin Benjamin, and I totally understand why he likes this movie a lot. He's really into cars. There's just lots of really cool car shots and really cool car information and all sorts of stuff like that. And they briefly go into like the history of the Mustang. Not as in-depth as I would have liked. I think it would have been more fascinating to do like the entire history of it, but they kind of just did like the beginning of it and then the now stuff. I would especially liked had they gone into like controversies about the Mustang over time, like things that people really didn't like, things that really backfired and stuff like that. Even though I am super grateful for my cousin to recommend this movie to me, I really didn't care for this movie. I didn't hate it. It's in the meh category, with the main reason being this just feels like a giant corporate fluff piece. Like, I'm pretty sure the marketing department came up with the idea for this documentary, or before the main character of the movie did. I forget his job title, but he's one of the higher ups at Ford who was basically spearheading the Mustang project. Oh God, that guy. He's just a little corporate dude with a very clear Napoleon complex. The moment that killed me the most was near the beginning. Yeah, there's a few moments that really killed me though. We were in his office and he was like picking up little toys in his office and like making jokes about them. And he's like, yeah, we like to joke around here, have fun here, because we have long days and if we don't joke around then it gets really boring. And it felt a lot like Michael Scott, unironically, just kind of like the worst characteristics of him. He's just trying really hard for the camera. I don't know, this was a difficult movie for me to watch. It's really just a giant ad for the 2015 Mustang, so it's even hard for me to even call it a movie. I will say though, if you really like cars, you would probably actually enjoy this. I'm not a car guy, I don't really care about cars, but I know a well-crafted story can make you care about any subject matter, so I was willing to give this a try. But this really didn't do it for me. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Beanie Mania sitting at number 33 in the really like section of the new movies. And then after that is Bob Ross, I'm not going to say the entire name, sitting at number 49 in the quite like section. And that brings the grand total out of all the new movies up to 89. And then jumping over to the old movie list, we got A Faster Horse sitting at number 216 in the meh section. And that is out of a total of 271 old movies so far this year. And that brings the grand total out of all the movies I've seen so far this year up to 360.